good evening. We'll call the City of Clear Lake Shore City Council regular meeting to order on December 15th, 2020 at 6:31. All council members are present. And item number 2 is pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the Texas flag. Please stand. Remove your hats. Item number 3, reports from council. Councilwoman Jan Bailey, they got me really having to figure out what I'm saying here tonight.
Thank you. I just want to wish everyone happy holidays and happy to be here and looking forward to a very good 2021, hopefully. Thank you.
Amen. All right, thank you, Councilwoman Jan Bailey. Councilman Rick Fisher.
I just want to say you guys did a bang-up job on the Christmas tree lighting of the fireworks there were a fantastic touch. Only report we've got is we had a meeting for the SGR committee, came up with some recommendations. I guess we'll be going over those a little bit later tonight for discussion, and we'll just take it from there.
All right, thank you, Councilman Rick Fisher. Councilwoman Christy Lyons. There you are.
Hey, I have nothing to report other than to say ditto with Rick.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Christy Lyons. Councilman Alex Scanlon.
The Roads and Drainage Board has been meeting frequently, and everyone on is really contributing. Appreciate everyone. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Councilman Alex Scanlon. Councilman Randy Chronister.
You almost said it, didn't you? I don't have anything to report. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Randy Chronister. I just, a couple things. Christmas tree lighting was very, very spectacular, and thanks everybody for that, and the police force setting up the street and keeping all of our kids and parents and families safe while we put on that event. A lot of good hot chocolate. Thanks to the Civic Club for coming out and helping with that, and Doris Sanders for with the library effort that she did with the table and all that stuff. And then Soul Freak, of course, for the hot chocolate that they provided. We are still gathering up unwrapped toys and non-perishable food items at City Hall, so if anybody has that, please bring them in. We'll be taking a ride down to Galveston or Texas City probably later on this week or early next week to drop those things off. And then last, just want to wish everybody a happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. And just make sure everybody remains safe and vigilant with the existing COVID situation that we're under, and the numbers seem to be increasing a little bit, so just be careful with that, and that's all I've got. Next is committee reports. Staff reports, number 4, Police Department, Chief Keel.
Good evening, council members and visitors. I don't have anything to report. I do have an item on the agenda for consideration by council. Would this be the best time to do that, or during the item when the item comes up? I'll go back to my original plan then of I'm going to restate the support of St. Jude's Hospital and support of Shriners Hospitals. We don't have a lot going on here at the PD right now, but we do have a lot of people reaching out for assistance, not necessarily in our community, but in the area, the Toys for Tots and the food drive. So we would ask that citizens and council members support those two causes with donations to the food bank of Galveston County, and any toy drives that you could see fit to give to assist our less fortunate. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next is Building Official Kevin Harrell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I want to start off by wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. This is last time we'll meet before the new year. My report from the December 2nd to December 15th of 2020. I've issued 11 new permits. All 11 permits are minor construction. I'm currently reviewing a new home on Ivy. Current residential construction, I have still 6 new homes in different various stages of construction. Commercial, I have Oakey's Yard House. I'll be giving a report to Plaza 10 later this evening. Currently it's ongoing. The outdoor kitchen passed its gas test. Centerpoint did install a new gas meter. Other than that, construction's been slow because of some improper work that needs to be redone, including the kitchen hood and the outdoor kitchen. Frontier Communications has just pulled a permit. They are going to be putting in fiber optic, both overhead and underground, for our island and around certain areas. Code enforcement, I've been contacting the citizens for the right-of-way violations. I've spoken to several of them. They are working to comply. I've had a few stubborn individuals, but I'm working with them. Waterfront leases, I've sent out almost 24 letters for bulkhead and pier issues from the storm that happened. Beta and current wave conditions have been battering the bulkheads, but they are working. They get 90 days to get compliant. Other than that, that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Well, I personally thank you for your efforts. I know it's a no-thanks job. It's, going out there and taking care of all that stuff, but it makes our community look good.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next is Clear Lake Shores, Kima Volunteer Fire Department, Rod Segura, right? You got a microphone from Chief Keel that you can use there, and yep.
It's my first time coming to y'all's. It's my first time coming to y'all's city council meeting. So my name's Robert Suniga. Nice to meet everybody. This last month we had 37 total calls for service. 18 of those were first responder or medical related. The other 19 were fire or MVAs, other type of fire calls. We had the fire at Portofino, and I'm sure as everybody knows, I think Amy will be able to update. I think all the patients ended up being turning out okay, and it was confined to the one vessel that was initially on fire whenever it came in. So the first truck was on scene in about 5 minutes, I want to say, 4 minutes and some change. It was kind of difficult because of the tight space, and it's kind of bottlenecks as soon as you come in there. So they had to get the patients out before we could actually start to put the fire out. So, but again, it was contained to that one vessel. So Santa Around Town will be on December 20th, starting at 7 p.m. and we'll make the outskirt of the island, and we're just not going to make any stops. And that's about it.
Well, thank you, and congratulations. You're the new fire chief, right? Or interim?
Yes.
Interim fire chief? Okay. All right. Thank you. Yep.
I just want to brag about you guys. So y'all are out the door in 1 minute and 25 seconds. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
That's pretty nice.
Our turnout time is still at 1 minute and 25 seconds. So as long as we have people assigned to the station, can't promise it'll always be that perfect, but we're getting closer and closer to having people there consistently. So if it's anything other than a first out call and it's a volunteer coming in, if it's not a volunteer that's at the station or a paid assigned person, then those times are going to vary. But that's our overall average turnout time as of right now.
And we have about 25 volunteers at this time?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
That's very impressive.
Thank you.
Impressive, and hopefully that's not EMS kicking you out. All right, very good. All right, that leads us to Galveston County Health District, Amy Weber.
Good evening, Council. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, Council. Sorry I missed last month. I'm going to go ahead and give you last month and this month's numbers. Last month we did 75 calls for chemo, 1 for Clear Lake. Our shoot time was 1 minute and 27 seconds, and our average response time was 5 minutes and 31 seconds. This month we did better on the times. We had 60 chemo calls, 3 Clear Lake Shore calls, and our average shoot time was 1 minute and 20 seconds, and our average response time was 5 minutes and 17 seconds. We are also looking at getting with our first responders and offering CPR classes to them to try and get them on the same, get them the CPR at a discount so we can help them out and work with them a lot better. Hopefully that'll start next month. I'll send you out a calendar.
Yeah, that would be great. And any community outreach that you do, we could always host one here, depending on how we can do that with the current COVID situation.
Yeah, we're trying to do some things, but we're limited on what we want to do.
Right. Yep. All right. Thank you. All right. And City Administrator Brent Spear.
Good evening. I'll echo the sentiments of everyone else before me. Merry Christmas. Hope you have a safe holiday, and we'll see you in 2021 with vast improvement. COVID vaccines are being pushed out through the states right now. They're going to frontline medical personnel. That is anticipated to trickle down to first responders at some point, and we're watching that, or I'm watching that currently, and I believe the fourth tier would be municipal workers in that plan. So we're at the first step right now. We're 38 weeks into coronavirus. Clear Lake Shores has seen a minor uptick with 70. I think we have 76 total cases. 61 of them recovered. 15 are active. We haven't had any deaths, and we're continuing all of our COVID protocol and practices at City Hall and our city buildings, including this one. In regards to the explosion that happened in Portofino, the fire marshal, I did speak to him at length today. He will have a written report submitted to the fire department, and he's going to send a copy to the city, so we will have a copy of that. It was, I believe, deemed accidental with aerosol ignition. Just so you're aware, tomorrow we will have court in this building, so we'll reset it and hopefully have folks in. Sales tax revenue is up 9%. We only have 1 month in the book right now, but that's encouraging. I believe that's a continuation of people not getting out and doing a lot of shopping from home. So we appreciate that, and it goes to the bottom line. If you've been down Narcissus, you may have noticed that there's no longer a big steel plate and a big bump. That's been paved and looks in good shape. I went past there today, and it was even holding, it was keeping water up, so that was good. Still awaiting the final quotes for Lowell Brown, and I think I can give EDC doesn't have any representatives. I spoke with the vice president tonight, and I'll speak to EDC later. Clear Lake Shores also participated in the boat parade, which was this Saturday, and that was interesting, and had about 160 boats, ranging from about 15 feet to 117 feet. And today I did attend a legislative roundtable with Representative Bonin, and it was interesting. I was able to express concerns with flooding and concerns with additional flooding and dumping water into Clear Lake. It's coming from the north, and it's got to get out there somehow. And there is a plan with the coastal spine to put some gates and pumping apparatus. So it's made some traction in the last 7 years. I don't know exactly when that could anticipate or take place, but potentially within another 20 that could be in place. It's a funding issue, and one of the things that they're experiencing at the state level is they really don't have a clear-cut or good idea how they're going to share space with the governor, lieutenant governor, and the other legislators, and how they're going to conduct their daily business. So it may be a short-cycled 140-day process. There may be some limitations on group size as they attend to the Capitol and the office building, but they're hoping to complete a lot of good work in the time that they have. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Brent. And just to add to that, I forgot about the boat parade, and Miss Nene was named by Clear Lake Shores as our boat, and it must have been a good boat because it was picked out for 2 other big awards, including the Seabrooks Mayor Award, so we must have picked the right one. All right, next is committee reports, Parks and Pools. Anybody here for Parks and Pool? All right, Roads and Drainage. Mr. Sowry?
Thanks, Kurt. Thanks, Council. Happy New Year. Hanukkah. We sure hope things change for 2021. Alex, thank you for the good words. And Randy, meeting before, you did a great job in kind of giving us a little bit of background on our November 25th meeting. What I'm going to do is go through a little bit of things that we did at that meeting, and then I'll do a little bit of what's going to be next. At the 25th meeting, we focused on 2 specific items, which is trying to develop a new and a better drainage master plan. At this point, we don't really have a master plan other than I think the one that we commissioned Cobb Finley back in 2015. But we hope to be able to flesh that out a whole lot more so that new constructions or any modifications to things that might change the water flow from the houses into the ditches and culverts would be taken care of better. So what we agreed to at our meeting was that we did feel that that was important to go ahead and do a drainage plan. And we also, with Alex's help, we ended up putting together a list of things that we think are most important to try to start working on fleshing out what the drainage plan book ought to look like. And so one of the things on that list was that we thought that an engineered drainage plan with a detailed topographical drawing really needs to be developed in more detail. What that means is if you build a house and you've got to make sure that any of the rain or the storm that we might have comes down onto their own property and doesn't expand onto other people's properties. And we've had that problem for a long time. And we're trying to make specifications so that if we make any changes to the topography, which is the lay of the land, that we don't impact other people's property, as well as directing the water into the ditches and the culverts. So that's our goal, and it may take a while for us to actually end up getting something from it, but we have a meeting scheduled for Thursday, the 17th, where we have the clubhouse here, and we're going to do a workshop and try to use some templates from Houston and Galveston, maybe surrounding areas, also using our own ordinances to try to put together the format as how we're going to do the drainage plan. We also recommended that after getting this topography, we have a third-party engineer review that topography, because we don't have the expertise in-house to do that. And so we're gonna be recommending that as one of the major items we wanna follow through on. The next portion that we had in our meeting, and the meeting lasted 2 hours, so it was very spirited, very helpful. A lot of people added to the lists and their ideas, and we hope to keep that spirit going. As far as the roads and the 2020 roads project, which now will probably be the 21st, 2021 roads project, which includes Blue Point, Narcissus, mid portion of Narcissus, and the lower portion of Narcissus. We're trying to get around the contractors that our engineering company, Cobb Finley, to try to get a better price and a better way of doing it, because all they want to do is to go in and make each road as though it's a brand new subdivision, and we don't think that we really need to do that on a lot of our interior roads, particularly. So we realize that we have to put together a standard generic asphalt road specification if we were to bring in outside contractors. We also know that we need to find some kind of a project manager, because we can't do that in roads and drainage, and we don't have the staff to do it here, so we have to go out and find that. So what's next? So I've already said we're going to be having our a meeting on Thursday. Hopefully it won't be for 2 hours, but we'll see. We will be using the actually we got a number of templates from Galveston County, Galveston City, and Houston to try to see which parts of those we can use, and we'll pare it down to something that makes sense to us. I contacted the company that we got a contract with to review all the roads and put together a spreadsheet on which is the worst roads, the best roads, how best to maintain them. And I asked them if they couldn't put together an additional couple of columns on the spreadsheet that would add drainage issues, because the product that we're expecting from them is only roads related. So we'll be asking them to modify it slightly so we can add more stuff about what's going on in our drainage side. And that's about all I have. Are there any questions?
I have a comment. Mr. Sowery, I want to thank you. You have done such a great job. I mean, on council, not only, and then also doing all this work on roads and drainage, and I know it's thankless, and I very much appreciate you, and I'm sure that a lot of council does as well.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much
Yes.
for all your work on everything on that. Thanks, Rick. Next is Zoning Board of Adjustments and Planning and Zoning. Nobody. And Waterfront Compliance. Oh. Planning and Zoning, maybe.
Yes, Planning and Zoning met last night. We had one replat come in front of us. It was approved. It was an addition to an existing home. They basically took a slice from one lot, added to another.
So it was approved or was not?
It was approved. It's on Rosewood.
All right. Thank you, Gavin. And Waterfront Compliance. All right. And next is Civic Club. Go Cougs.
We've got nothing going on. The one thing to remember is there is no Islander Throne in December. We are working, our first event in the new year is Man Cakes, and I've reached out to Doug Whitmarsh to see if he's going to host that again.
All right. Thank you, Teresa. And EDC, Brent?
Charles Scoville was unable to attend tonight. He's out in Houston, and Mr. Boltinghouse, the VP, had prior commitment, so he was unable to attend. But to bring you up to speed, or up to date, Drawer Avenue, or Daniel Drawer Avenue right-of-way is moving in the right direction for procurement. We anticipate hopefully closing on that this month, which we're just into the last 2 weeks of the year. That does have to go in front of Kemah City Council and provided those documents to them for their approval, so that we're moving forward on it. And the city attorney is currently reviewing some options regarding licensing and leasing of either a portion of the east parking lot, so that they can relocate their entrance to the west end of the former Strawberry Fields building. EDC is on board with that. City Council is on board, and we're trying to work through the legal issues that have cropped up with that. And that's the update.
All right, thank you, Brent. All right, item number 8, public comments. At this time, any person with city-related business may speak to the City Council. In compliance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, City Council may not deliberate. Comments from the public should be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per individual. Anybody would like to discuss with the public right now? Could approach. All right, closing public comments. Moving to number 9, new business, consent agenda. Does council have any items that they would like to move? Having no items to move, is there any objection to the consent agenda by council?
I do have one question on the consent agenda on the waterfront transfer. I think there was something on the back of it there. There was something about piers or pilings that needed to be replaced. There was not a yes or a no circled on that. Was that something that was just an oversight?
That any pilings need to be removed from the water.
Yeah, there was just nothing circled on that. I didn't know if that was something that needed to be taken care of, or if that was just an oversight.
I probably just missed it. Did I sign saying no work will be necessary?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make sure that's all it was. Okay.
All right, having no objections, consent agenda passes. Item 9, item number 10, council business, discussion and possible action may be taken on the following items. Item A, select 2 council members to be nominated to the Plaza 1006 Corporation. This is for replacing Councilwoman Amanda Fenwick and previous Councilwoman Angie Terrell from the Plaza 10. My recommendations are Rick Fisher and Randy Chronister to the Plaza 10 Corporation 06.
I will make a motion to approve that. Randy and Rick be added to Plaza 10.
I'll second.
All right, made a motion by Chrissy Lyons, second by Alex Scanlon. All in favor, or any discussion first, sorry.
No discussion.
Aye.
All in favor, aye.
We're jumping.
Any opposed? Randy, did you abstain, or did you vote? You didn't vote, so item passed by no vote by Rick and Randy. Motion passes. Item number B, review and approve proposal for painting of City Hall and Clubhouse. Brent Spear.
Thank you. This is something that was budgeted for, and we've been planning on. Both structures need repainting and some touch-ups and be addressed. Let me flip this so you can read it. This is just a spreadsheet. You have all the details in your packet. We had 3 that three vendors that bid on this: Five Star Painting, Bay Area Paint and Tile, and CLS Builders. As you can see, the quotes are broken out by Five Star and Bay Area Tile by each structure, and then a total. And then CLS Builders bid both buildings as one item. And then as far as payment terms, Five Star wants paid upon completion of each structure. CLS Builders would take 50% payment upon completion of the first building, with the remainder on the second. And Bay Area Paint and Tile would take possible draws against the project, and then remaining balance due upon completion. Down to the meat and potatoes, CLS Builders is $17,900. Five Star was high bidder at $25,550, and Bay Area Paint and Tile at $21,670. And my recommendation would be to award CLS Builders the work at $17,900. I'll also add that we've already made the color selections, so that was part of this quote. The clubhouse will be in the same color scheme, with the exception, I believe, the doors are going to be navy blue, and City Hall will be, they call it kryptonite. That's just a fancy name for one of 400 shades of gray, and we'll have white trim and leave any blue doors over there as well. We have a glass door in the front, so it will be painted.
Motion to approve CLS Builders for the proposal of painting City Hall, clubhouse, in addition to the same paint colors that was suggested in the motion.
I'll second it.
All right, motion by Jan Bailey, second by Christy Lyons. Any discussion?
Just one question, I guess, with CLS Builders being the low bidder, there was no significant advantage of going to Bay Area or Five Star with the higher quote as far as quality of work or anything like that?
None that we could find in the bidding process. We are familiar with CLS Builders, and I believe that it is a jewel in their cap to say that they painted these buildings in their hometown, so that's helpful. And
they're also adding the mildew preventative into the paint?
Yes, we super paint, and it will have a mildew preventative.
All right, no further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Having known none, motion passes. All right, item number C, review and approve proposal for in-car body cams. Mr. Chief Keel.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. You should have received a packet regarding the bids and proposal for the purchase of in-car body cams. This is a non-budgeted item. This came about in researching repair for existing in-car cameras when we found out that the company no longer supported the technology we have in place. Along with that, our actual body cams are older than the ones that are in the cars, all of which place us in a situation of liability if we don't have that technology available to us. So in researching repair to the systems that we have, we determined that repair was more expensive than replacement, and I began researching bids for replacement of those items. I did receive 3 bids, one of which was verbal. I'll tell you that that bid came from Axon, which used to be called Taser. It was upwards of $150,000, $160,000. I also received a written bid from WatchGuard, which is owned by Motorola. That bid was above $48,000. and I received a bid from Safety Vision for $31,505. Having knowledge of all of those companies and their abilities and equipment, make a recommendation that we award, first of all, that we award or allow the purchase of these items that were not budgeted, and secondarily, we award the bid to Safety Vision for $31,505. I'll entertain any questions.
Do you just have anything to add with the funds for that? Do you have police funds that could help fund this?
We do have some funds that we have in donated funds. I would probably be working with City Administrator Brent Spear and Cheryl Hunter to locate where I could find those funds and not go into any rainy day funds. I know that there's certain amounts in certain categories, but that has not been determined. The only stipulation I have with these bids is the Safety Vision bid is only good through December the 24th, which is the one that I recommend we go with. So I'd have to get that figured out the next 3 or 4 days in order to make the order.
Motion to discuss proposal for in-car body cams.
I'll second the motion.
Chief, so this is a $31,000 expenditure. So how much play do we have in the budget for that?
I know that I have a fund of approximately $16,000 from donations. There are court technology funds and some other budgeted areas that I don't have the numbers with me.
Okay.
That would take a few meetings with City Administrator Brent Spear to hammer out those details.
So also, where are we on the other what were we doing with the
Personal watercraft?
Right. With that added to moving forward, that are I don't know where we are on that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That's another item.
Yeah.
Okay. Those personal watercraft have been added to the assets that we have that we're going to sell. Those funds, we don't have a number on those yet, but certainly those are going to.
We were going to bring that to City Council in this meeting, but we wanted to take our time and make sure we get full accounting to do surplus equipment, so we can liquidate that. Yeah, it's on. I'm sorry. Got to tilt it some way. Surplus equipment to bring to council so that we can go ahead and liquidate those assets.
Mm-hmm.
And there are companies, as opposed to us trying to do it ourselves, there are companies that will take a slice of that profit, but they have inroads with people that have street sweepers that maybe need parts off of that street sweeper. And we've already received permission to liquidate that, but we don't have anybody knocking on our door to come and get a street sweeper. So the plan is, moving forward, the plan is to take those items and liquidate them through the most, I guess, money positive method and recover some of those costs. Also, part of the budget, in the budgeting, we have, I thought it was $107,500 for building maintenance, and if you just look at budget numbers to the bottom, I had budgeted, I think I pumped in $24,000 for painting.
Okay.
So we're below $18,000, so there's some money there. So we're at $17,900.
Okay.
So there's a few $1,000s in that pot. And as we move forward through the agenda, there was I want to say $75,000 that was budgeted based on our best guess for pool plastering and maintenance. Okay. And as we go through the budget, you'll see that we're going to come up well below that, and so there'll be some additional funds there also available at the bottom line.
And also, we didn't have this year's committee Christmas party, unfortunately, but there's some little bit of funds there. But
what was that budget?
That was, well, 8,000 total for the, complete mayor's budget,
Okay.
but that usually runs around 3 or 4.
So my thing is that I know that the watercraft was around 15,000, which was a donation. You're talking about we're coming under budget on the painting. I like that, and I absolutely want to go on record to say that I am absolutely for the in-car body cams. I think that is a very important thing. So I'm liking that we're all discussing how that we can kind of move around budget money to make sure that you guys have what you need.
Yeah, and what's the, you know, Brent, what's your opinion with our budget? I mean, do you think that this, by the end of the year, we would be in a good position still?
I think we'd be in a good position. We could probably absorb this cost, but it would, at the end of the year, there would be a budget amendment that would be created, or we may do one as we go down the year. But when you compare the bottom line, so to speak, to what was budgeted and what we spent, I think we'll be in a good position. There is also the opportunity. I wasn't planning on doing the snow day this year because of COVID and, you know, potential for contamination, and that could just be.
It was 10,000, correct?
I don't think it was 10,000, but it was more expensive for ice than I thought.
Yeah.
But you're paying for this giant truck to come in and 5 people to
Right.
put bags, but
Right.
it's a few $1,000s, and that we could cancel that, and you know, like the bottom line number, recover a few $1,000s towards this project. I think it's more important than snow, and it's a safety issue, and you know, police, not only for the police but for the public. So.
All right, so I'll amend my motion to approve the
Well,
proposal
is
for.
there any further discussion? I mean,
I have a question. TK, can we get with them and see if we can put a deposit down to secure that pricing in case we can't make that happen in 2 weeks?
Yes, sir. What I did was I spoke with the vendor and in great length, and all he needs from us is approval to move the items from inventory to will call, and that'll give us some more time to make the purchase after December the 24th, but it would take a commitment from us to say, yes, we're going to make the purchase, so he can move it from inventory to will call, which is the only way I can see to get around that.
I have one item on this. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
But one thing I think is really important is that this camera system will allow for immediate review in the field by the officer. Doesn't allow the officer to delete anything or anything like that, but will allow them to back it up and review something. So this is an opportunity that you didn't see them throw something out the window, and a passerby says, hey, they threw something out the window back there. They can go to that video, back it up, see where something shoots out the window, and go back and recover that. And that's really important. And also, like with traffic, is the chief explained to me, you know, if someone says, I turned my turn signal on, but you said I didn't. You can go back and you can check those things immediately in the field, and those are resolvable. So I think that's also important.
And just also, is there any issues or concerns with IT, with those new systems interfacing with their existing IT capabilities? And I'm sure, you know, this is also part of an obsolescence plan too. I mean, the gear is very old, so it needs replacement.
Yes, sir. The current system we have in the car is Provision. The current system we have with the body cams are a different vendor, so they don't integrate. These will be integrated. It'll be new server, new antennas, new uploads. It's all going to be one component, really. So it makes it easier to use.
Will they still have the issue with having to download underneath the police station and all that, or will it actually download on its own while they're driving?
It'll download anytime you're within a certain radius of the police station for an extended period of time. They'll still have to take their cameras upstairs and create the folder, but it will automatically upload for them. So they just have to go upstairs and create the folder for the evidence and case files.
And it's turnkey, no additional software packages needed for viewing purposes or delivery.
No,
or anything like
it's a complete package as well as installation and warranty.
That was gonna be my next question. What's the warranty on this?
It's 5 years, which is about the turnaround for technology to jump ahead of us.
And it won't be like the ticket riders.
No, it will not be like ticket riders, but I did get another update on that, which I'm preparing for next council meeting.
Okay.
I trust you've done all your research. Thank you, Chief.
I've tried, thank you.
And I will amend my first motion and motion to approve the proposal for in-car body cams for the police department.
For safety vision.
Which proposal?
For safety.
Safety vision.
Safety
vision
Okay.
proposal.
Okay.
And I'll second it.
All right, a motion by Ms. Bailey and second by Ms. Lyons. Any discussion? Having none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Having none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, item D, review and approve proposal for replastering of community swimming pool. Brent Spear.
Good evening again. This is it's in your packet. It is a replaster bid for the swimming pool. And this is a multifaceted proposal. I reached out to 3 or 4 recommended pool plastering companies, and they're very difficult to get to come out. I think they've been very busy under COVID as well, with people staying home and noticing things and getting them addressed. In front of the mayor and the mayor pro tem, there is a colored tile, and then also the color of the coping. The coping is the stuff that's on top. So the water tile and the coping, and that hopefully will accent the existing kind of sand-colored pool deck that's out there. So those were the 2 choices, or the choices for the colors. It will have a safety grip, which is concrete, and it's got like a knob. There was a larger piece, but it's been liquidated elsewhere, because I was carrying it around. It was heavy. So, but that is a safety grip edge, and that is part of Texas Administrative Code for these pools, and it allows somebody to swim up and kind of hook their hands. What we have there currently is just like a sawed-off piece of tile, and it is slick. And anybody that uses the pool probably recognizes that, and it's a hard edge. But this bid plaster quote, and this is with the what's it called, quartzite, which is an upgraded plaster. I've been told that it wears better. Mayor may have some comments on that, but has a quartzite, and the total for the replastering of the pool and the listed items is right around $50,000, $49,996. And we have problems with our lighting at the pool. We constantly have lights that pop out. We replace them. We pay to get them fixed. They get water in them. They also sent a proposal for the incandescent 120-volt lights, and in talking with other people, they suggested the LED light is really the best option. It's a little more expensive, but it lasts longer, and it's better for the pool. So the pool LED lights are right around a little over $7,000, $7,047.50. So combining the 2 of those, at about $58,000, 57 and change. We budgeted $75,000 for this project, so there is captured money to gather for other important projects. So I would make a recommendation that we utilize Gulf Coast Aquatics for the quote. And there is a caveat, and I don't anticipate this being a problem with our pool, but it is something they put into all of their quotes, that if they have to remove all of the plaster, what's called a complete tear out, there is an additional cost for that. But this is the, in addition to just the original plaster, this is the first plaster job. So don't anticipate that being a problem.
All right, thanks, Brent.
Actually, I'd like to make a motion to discuss the agenda item for replastering the pool.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Hey, Brent, I just had a couple of questions here. They had one thing that was, they were talking about the racing lane here. They had a note in here that there was a racing lane in the lap pool that's the older color tile, and the board would like to replace it with the same color tile. The tile costs $1,100, which includes targets on both sides, but there's also a line item in there for racing lane for $1,100. Is that same cost? Is this going to be an additional $1,100 if we decide to do that?
No, I think it's accounted for, and that was racing lane. They've added that in $1,100, but I'll confirm that
Okay.
with them. When they originally came out and looked at it, I don't think that they realized there was a racing lane in there, so it was added.
All right, but that is what that has been included in that line item there for the racing
Yeah,
lane.
I'll
Okay.
confirm that with them.
All right. I guess the other one that I've got too was I'm assuming we're not going to try and go with a different color for the coping. We're just going to go with that sterling gray.
Yeah, that's sterling gray is what that sample is, and there was another color that I picked that was called mid iron or something like that. It was a little redder, but if we couldn't, it wasn't in stock, so you had to pay to get it from California to here.
Right.
And so I made another color choice to not have that add-on.
Okay. And I guess I was also reading there, they're talking about doing the total tear out. I don't know, I've just, I've heard from other people just some of the repairs that have been done on the pool. There's a pretty good chance that we may have to go ahead and do that. And I don't know, just maybe in my opinion, maybe going forward from here, if we're going to be investing this amount of money into the pool, would it make sense to go ahead and just do a whole tear out to begin with? That way we're starting with a fresh slate, fresh piece of paper. We're still under budget from what we budgeted for the pool. I'll have to re-add my numbers, but I mean, I was figuring with lights and with everything else I had added in here, that was coming out to just a little over $69,000. Still well under budget for what we had for the pool. Would it make more sense to go ahead, like I said, and just do the total tear out and start fresh like that instead of just doing a patch job?
I'm not the right person to ask on that.
Yeah, they're not doing a patch job. They're going in and taking out tile and coping, and then they're going to chip everywhere where there's plaster to getting hollow spots out, and then they put a bond coat on. But if they determine that the plaster's in such a condition, they'll do a chip down all the way down to the gunite. That's what the complete tear out is. So since it's only got one plaster job on it, my experience is that they shouldn't have any issues at all in just doing bond coat. And to be clear, it's not Gulf Coast Aquatics, it's Gulf Coast. It's what's the name of?
Coast Aquatics. It says Gulf Coast Aquatics.
JR Plastering came out and looked at it, but JR Plastering is, I think, a subsidiary of Gulf Coast Aquatics.
Okay.
Yeah, everything has Gulf Coast Aquatics. So my question was going to be, I lost it. Okay, so there's two invoices for the lights. So is one a regular light and then one's an LED light?
Yes, you make a choice of either the 120 volt or the LED light.
Well, I guess I must have it misprinted on here because it shows here on the second one it's 120 volt, 500 watt equivalent LED light.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an LED version of the light.
Well, they're both proposals show LED lights.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, is there, like, what's the difference on?
One's 120 volts, one's 12.
It's their,
The very beginning of the description, if you look at it, 120
gotcha.
volt and 12 volt. So the 12 volt requires the
transformer.
the use of the transformers.
Right.
How long has the pool been there?
So if we're not going
13.
with, so then it would be this.
So this is the same people that take care of the pool today, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a different crew that came out and looked at it.
Okay,
It turns out they have two companies. I talked to JR Plastering. They came out, and that's Jose. And I knew him as Jose, but his name is Joey. He goes by Joey on the Inline Aquatics. I said, "Are you the same person, Jose and Joey?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay."
That needs to, we need to look into that, because there's certain people that are only allowed to put that plaster down. So, I would wanna make sure we get clarification on that.
As far as the contractor?
He has the
Needs to be,
contractor and application of the plaster, and that
Okay.
they're approved, written approval from that.
Port side.
Yeah, this is Joey. This is your same guy that does our lifeguard service. Yeah, that's just his sub out.
So we need another quote, is that what you're saying?
I would recommend, like to understand why we can't get a quote straight from JR Pool Plastering.
Did we receive any other quotes, or just this one?
Just this one. Phone calls go unanswered, and you talk to someone, and they just don't come out.
Yeah, I mean, request council to see if we can table this till January.
I'll make a motion to table it till the January 15th meeting.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, I'll add, we'll also seek some additional quotes and see if we can
Yeah, that'd be good.
chase them down.
All right, all in favor for tabling? Any opposed? Nay? All right, having none. Thanks, Brent. All right, item number 11, discussion only. Item listed below are for discussion purpose only, and no action will be taken. Item A, ordinance 2020-21, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Clear Lake Shore, Texas, creating Article 6, short-term rentals of Chapter 18 businesses and business registration of the Code of Ordinances, establishing regulations and permitting requirement for operation of a short-term rental, and providing a penalty clause for violations. And Amy and Robert, if y'all want to leave, you're more than welcome to. Thank you for staying. I appreciate it, but it won't be bad for us to see you if you wanted to leave.
Happy New
Yep.
Year.
Happy New Year, guys.
Chief,
Day.
All right.
I guess I'm up.
Discussion, yep, Christie, you're up.
All right, so the STR committee has met, and we have gone line by line through the ordinance, and everybody has a draft copy of it. So these are the things that we have done and changed from the original ordinance. There still is a couple more questions, so the committee will meet again after Christmas, and then it'll be coming back to council, well, to the lawyer and then council to approve, is where it stands. This is the draft. Does everybody have a draft? You should have got a draft copy.
Is this draft copy any different than the one in the packet?
No. Same one.
No, the only thing I had, first off, thanks for everybody working on this. I know it's a lot of work. In section 18-139, minimum standards of conduct, just wanted to work on the wording of item 7. It's, it's against our ordinance to, to have dogs or animals, pet waste on any other person's property. So on their own property, they need to determine what they want to have for their rule. But for the city standpoint, I believe it should read, pets will be leashed instead of should, because we can't have pets at large, and any off-premises pest waste must be disposed of.
I know, right?
Pets will be leashed, and any off-premises pest waste must be disposed of. And I did get the STR that's up for Nassau Bay. Jason from there sent that to me, courtesy of Mark Denman, their mayor, and sent that to Christie, and I believe she'll send it out to the rest of the STR committee just for consideration. They've got some pretty good words in there too that we should just take a look at, and it is a local town near us that is having to go through the same thing.
And theirs is already approved, right?
No, it's up for council today also.
So tonight it should be approved?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they also have some background information of how they went working through their task force, which is the same as our ad hoc committee. And then they also have a lawsuit of where there's a town in Texas, I forget what the name of it, was outlawing STRs completely, and how that was unconstitutional and stuff like that. So we don't obviously want to go down that road. But just a good thing for all of council and the STR committee to see that.
Yeah, I'll send that out later.
And I believe Kitty had an email to you back and had some recommendations.
Yeah, she wanted to discuss the inspection in 139. Section
Yeah, she had a couple sections.
18-139 for the inspection, and I'm not sure what her wording wanted to be. She didn't go into detail about that.
So it's a good opportunity for anybody on council who wants to dive into any of this or have any questions. Now is a good time.
Actually, I thought that portion on the inspection was lined out in the meeting, and it somehow ended up in our draft.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The when deemed a health, and that was taken out. to be changed again. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I think we had it in there if I got it written down correctly, which is my chicken scratch, so.
I know.
But,
Well, when you got 5 copies and you're trying to
Exactly.
blend them all together.
No, I think we just had it, short-term properties, will be subject to a fire inspection every 24 months. I think that's how we had it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it wrote on this piece of paper. On this one, I have it. It just needs to be changed again.
Yeah, I figure probably we can address that just in the next STR meeting.
Yeah, I mean,
No big deal.
We'll go back over everything in our next STR meeting to make sure, because like I said, when you're blending 5 copies together, it starts getting cross-eyed.
So I have a question for y'all who are on the committee. It mentions there's a 24-hour contact that needs to be available, and the city should be contacted with any complaints. I know Brent's only here Monday through Friday. If it's midnight or 1 in the morning on a Saturday, what is the idea behind having someone available to contact if there's not a path for a complaint to make it to them?
I think it's more to alert the property owner, and I think as far as the contact they're talking about, property owner or somebody that the property owner is designated to have as a contact, just to let them know about any issues. Let's say that, and I think the example they gave, let's say that they had somebody dropped a cigarette or something on a couch and caught on fire, and they had to put the fire out. Well, as a property owner, if let's say that you're out of town, you'd want to know about that. I think it was more for something, just a contact to be able to.
It's similar to our businesses, right, Kevin?
Right.
There's a 24-hour contact written down.
Yes, when they register, they give contact information, so that if something does happen or we have questions, we have someone to call.
Yeah, so that's like in case of emergency. That's not.
Yeah, it's not.
That's not intended to try to give someone an avenue to resolve a problem in real time.
No.
In notifying city, that was trying to condense that down. Originally it said notify the administrator or the building official, and just for that very item, we're probably not going to be here at 10 o'clock on a Friday night or Sunday night or whatever. So we just condensed that down to, or they condensed that down to city. And we anticipate that most of those issues will probably go through the police department because that's the staff. And so they'll get a noise complaint. They're going to address that. And then they would provide an update to the administrator of short-term ordinance, or short-term rental ordinance, what happened or if there was a problem and how that was resolved.
It would also allow the law enforcement, should an event occur, we get called out, and we need to contact the renter or the property owner about whatever's going on. That would give us someone to contact, even if it's 3 in the morning on a Saturday night. We could access those records, contact the property owner, and see what they want us to do for direction.
Yeah, like if you pull up and they're throwing all the couches out the window, you could call them up and say, hey, your renters are maybe violating.
Do you want your couches
rental
in the front
agreement.
yard? One of those, that one.
You can sure speak, Craig, if you step up and use a microphone, please.
Yeah, I have no problem with.
You have to use a microphone, please.
Okay.
Well, everything's recorded. Thank you.
Okay. Hello?
Yep.
Okay. I'm all for having the city contact me if something's going on. There's no issue about that. And I want the police to be able to know which houses in the neighborhood are STRs, because when you go into a situation, if you know it's an STR instead of mom and pop kettle, you might approach it. And I'm all for that. I'm behind y'all completely. But to require any kind of response on a Saturday night at 1 in the morning, it isn't reasonable whatsoever. Because speaking for myself at least, if I'm in Colorado or Austin or wherever, and I get a call at 1 in the morning on a Saturday night, you're not going to get a return call from me, more than likely. I might not even hear my phone if I'm in a concert, who knows. But And as far as somebody being designated, there isn't an STR on, that I know of that can afford to pay somebody to be on call 24/7. That's unreasonable. So I don't mind being called, but to expect a callback, I gave y'all I rewrote a version of what I thought might work for this city. And in there I said maybe a 12-hour response would be good. You know, if there's something going on, the police need to deal with, the police are there, fire, ambulance. But calling me in Colorado at 2 in the morning, I wouldn't do it, doggone thing.
Yeah, my commentary was only as maybe a courtesy to let you know.
Well, no, that's what I'm in favor of.
Yeah, that's all on there.
It's the requirement for a return call within X number of hours on a Saturday night or midnight. And there's, that brings me one other thing. I don't want to say much. I wrote y'all a bunch of stuff. I commented on the draft we have now, and I wrote what I thought might work for the city. And I know that upset some people that I go into such detail, but this is a very important thing to me and my wife. Very important. So I'm going to hang in there till the very end. I've been fighting this for 3 years now, so I'm not going to stop now. But the way the ordinance is written, it says if you violate any part of this ordinance, anything in here, you could be fined $2,000, lose your license, and be facing a Class C misdemeanor. Anything that I knowingly violate in the entire ordinance. That means if you can prove I didn't tell somebody how to use a trash can, I could be going to jail and have a Class C misdemeanor. Now, I know that's not the intent, but that's not how it's written. And you have to write things legally. You can't say, well, we don't mean it that way. You know, we're not going to get you on that. But you know everything legal has to be legal. It has to be written into law. And a law has to be very well spelled out. And all of these things, the draft we have now is very overburdensome. There's a lot of just nonsense in there that needs to come out, in my opinion. But I can point out 10 different things in there that somebody could come over to my house and decide to declare I'm not following the rules and I'm facing a misdemeanor. That's ridiculous. That's just, I don't know what y'all can do about that, but I'm not going to say, I want to cut this short. But
yeah. Well, we'll just go back to item number 3 real quick. I mean, I believe that's true with any hotel type property, that if you're renting a place, that they need to be able to get in touch with, like if they have a toilet that blows off the wall or something, they need to be able, or a gas leak, they need to, I mean, unless it's emergency, they need to be able to call the owner of the STR to figure out what they should do. And I think that's a very good case that the city should have that number. I don't think that intent is for us to call them. I think it's for the people that are renting the place need to be able to get in touch. Now, if you choose not to be reachable, then that might be a problem of having an STR in Clear Lake Shores, depending on the voting here.
Well, no, that's what I just explained. I have no problem being reachable.
Right.
I'm just saying if you call me at 1 o'clock and there's a rule that says you have to call back within 4 hours, that might not happen, and I could lose my license and face a misdemeanor over that. That's unreasonable.
Let's hold on.
Wait, Craig, we changed this to say that a person needs to be available 24 hours. It doesn't say you have to call back at any given time.
It did before. So
it did before, but this is the version that we sat down and we all did together.
We've made a little progress there then.
Yes.
But
so I mean that one should be just, we leave it the way it is. Because it's just asking for somebody to be accept a phone call 24 hours.
And
it's not asking
as I
for
just
you
explained,
or...
You'll have my number, and I want to be called, but I can't be expected to call back at 3 in the morning. Is what I'm saying.
And definitely agree. I mean, I think this is iterating that you have this information available to the people that are renters.
Okay. Well, I get out of here, but I just hope everybody will. I know you think it's long and boring and whatever, but I hope everybody will.
No, we don't think it's long and boring.
Look at my opinions on each line item and read my little idea of what might work for
So
the
did you
city.
send them all to council?
Mm-hmm.
Did you send your comments to all of council?
Yes.
Did all of council receive Greg Ward's comments? Okay, so advise council to read Craig,
I'm just-
excuse me,
Yes, sir.
advise council to read Craig Ward's comments. There is an ad hoc committee, and so I think you're gonna have another 1 or 2 more meetings still going through some stuff, so
Yeah.
definitely hearing you.
I'm just asking that everybody do that as a favor, 'cause I think there's information in there that if you don't agree with me, it might spur somebody to think of something, well, I didn't even think of that. And that saves me from having to worry all tonight.
Is there any other items you wanna talk, Craig? I mean, you sure?
I've written everything down, if everybody reads it, then that's cool.
Okay.
And we can move from there.
We appreciate you working with the ad hoc committee and working through this.
Okay, thank you all. Have a nice night.
I got a question. Nowhere in the ordinance does it say anything about hot tax. Is that gonna be put in there later, or it doesn't say anything about us collecting that in this ordinance?
The hot tax is already an ordinance that's on the books.
Okay, so it's separate ordinance?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a separate.
okay.
Currently, we're not receiving any hot tax from
And
any
it will be
operation.
on their application too, so like when they fill out the application, it'll say this amount.
Yeah, I thought it had something in the very end, and that's what I was showing you before, that it looked like some items got chopped off at the end of your, newest version versus what
I
Craig
didn't
had
see
sent out.
anything in there for a hot tax. I read the whole thing
Yeah, I
just
just
before I
thought that
came
if
in.
this was the if this was the STR ordinance, it might mention it in there
Yes.
somewhere, maybe refer to our other ordinance or whatnot.
Well, it does have there under purpose.
motion to discuss this in first place.
It's just for discussion. It's discussion only.
It's not. You don't have to make a motion, it's just discussion. And there's nothing gonna be acted on.
No, I understand that, I'm just, it just isn't.
Well, if we can make a motion real quick, it'd be fine.
Motion to pass.
Motion to discuss, Christie, anybody second? All right, Rick second, so.
we discussed.
Actually, Randy, it does say here at the front on 18-131, got the purposes, the last item on there is to ensure collection and payment of the hotel occupancy tax.
Okay, you're right, it does. See, I've seen a couple different versions.
Yeah.
Right?
Because
Exactly.
Mr. Ward sends me every version. So I keep saying I'm not on that committee, but, you know,
Yep. And that's the purpose of the committee, is to go off and work this, get to a resolution, bring it back. Not everyone may agree at the end of the day, but they should have a majority. Bring that back, and just like this evening, Mr. Ward came in and discussed his version of what he believes that needs to be changed, and everybody should take that into account and use that to what they decide what they're gonna vote for in the future.
so it sounds like he's worried about making one violation. Let's just say a neighbor doesn't like STRs, so every time someone shows up, they're complaining. Is that the case, or does there have to be a citation written or something, and you count that, or is it every trip that they go out, or any trip? Because it sounds like that's what he's really nervous about.
Can I interject here real quick?
You bet.
Okay. A lot of our ordinances, regardless of STRs or nuisances or anything, they do put that $2,000 stipulation on it. But the thing about it is, or a misdemeanor or a C-class misdemeanor. But the thing about it is, whether you have trash in your front of your house or whatever, it's up to the judge to decide
Exactly.
the
I agree.
extent of that.
I was just curious how many violations before that is, you know, you remove their
Well,
certificate of occupancy for that
So,
STR, whatever.
let's say
Is it one, or is it 3 strikes
you
and
get
you're
a
out?
you get a letter. The process is, if there's a violation, you get a letter, and then you have a certain amount of time to answer that letter and to comply. If after that certain time limit, typically it's 10 days, they don't comply, then they're issued a citation. Then you go in front of the judge, and the judge then decides at his discretion on how lenient or severe the citation is.
But I guess my question is, how many times? Just one time? If one neighbor calls one time and they have a complaint and the police go out, there's something written up and he has to go before the judge?
If he keeps, if say the violation keeps repeating itself and he keeps presenting himself to the judge will take that into consideration
No, I get it, but I think his concern was that
At
if
what
if he
point?
has one violation, I'm in big trouble.
No,
You know what I mean?
in most cases, he'll get a court fine, and maybe he'll,
So who determines the certificate's pulled? If he has, say if he gets one or two and he goes in front of the court and the judge says $200 for this one and this one's $300, at what point does the city pull a certificate?
that is something that the STR committee should be looking into. If it's a one-shot, one-type deal, and you're out.
That's pretty rough. One shot,
pretty rough.
one complaint from one neighbor and you're done for however many
Right,
months.
but the STR committee should decide on when you pull their license, whether it's a one and done or
Should it be a 3
three
strikes and you're out?
You know.
Well, it depends on the size of the infraction too, right?
Correct.
Exactly.
If they burn the neighbor's house down.
Yeah, if they're burning the house down, obviously, you know, that's a pretty severe penalty. But if it's because they let their dog run around and poop in the neighbor's yard, no, of course not.
No, I get it.
But we understand, I mean, his concerns is that's subjective.
Right, and it should be stipulated in the ordinance that you guys are creating.
Don't look at me when you say that.
I'm already looking at you as something else.
Nothing in
Look
this
that way.
ordinance should be subjective at all. I mean, everything needs to be to the T. Here's my other question is, I'm sorry, it talks about short-term rentals. Are we putting out the hotel entities as well? Because that's coming.
Can you move that?
That's coming.
I'm sorry, Jan, with that.
That's all right. So the hotel's coming back there on the other end. So there's a delineation between the short-term rentals and, you know, excluding the hotels and the other, you know what I'm saying, the
Your multi-family.
There you go. So that's not in here.
Jan, can we use the microphone so we
Yes.
can hear everything, please?
So all of the multi-dwelling, the hotels and all that,
And again,
that has to be excluded.
that goes back to the committee that they should be looking at future endeavors.
Right.
That say a hotel comes into play.
That will be.
Or things of that nature.
Yes.
Instead of focusing on the dozen Airbnbs we have on the island.
Well, this addresses STRs specifically in a residential area.
It's not a hotel.
It's not a
So
hotel.
are the hotels governed by some other ordinance that we have then already maybe?
No.
They are.
Yeah.
So this is strictly an STR
But
period?
I'm not talking hotels, I'm talking about something happening in the future.
Right.
Say somebody buys the land and
Build some townhouses and leases them out, you know, short-term rental.
things you need to consider.
So
Yep.
multifamily needs to be covered, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Yeah, I was looking at Nassau Bays and they had a couple of line items in there for multifamily. And then also, you know, it's something we'll have to go back and clean up, but Airbnb, you know, back in the day, that's a different thing because they're serving breakfast and stuff. So that's why it's only allowed in our commercial and residential commercial district. It's not, Airbnbs are not allowed in our residential.
Correct. Semantics. That STR.
It's just a trade name. I think everybody calls it Airbnb,
Yeah, I
you
think
know?
so. I think it's just the trade name.
Oh, I mean bed and breakfast, sorry, bed and breakfast. Bed and breakfast is in our ordinance, specifically for commercial and commercial residential zoning areas, and not allowed in residential. Airbnb, VRBOs is inside this STR. Sorry about that.
When I was reading through this, I noticed a couple things, specifically trash and parking are mentioned in here. Those are obviously concerns with the STR. You can see that they're being addressed in here to some extent, but again, it's not very specific about what that means. Like in parking, under general code of conduct, it says you must show or you must tell the, I guess, occupants where off-street parking is and other means of parking and non-fire lane parking is, but it doesn't really say what they're supposed to use, which that sounds like it's just generally referring to our current parking ordinance. Is it something that needs to be specified in here that's different for the STR, or they're just
Well,
following
it'd be just like
the
if you
normal
had
parking?
guests over, if you're gonna tell them where to park. If you're gonna have
Right.
somebody coming over to your house, and let's say you're gonna have, you know, something where there's gonna be more people at your house than just fit in your driveway, where can they park? You've gotta let them know. Yeah, you're not gonna want them to go park in front of a fire hydrant or in a fire lane. You know, don't go park here, you're gonna get your car towed. You know, don't keep it out in the street, you know, after dark, or you're gonna get a citation, for blocking the street.
Right.
It's the same kind of thing. Whether it's, a paid guest or just an invited guest.
Right, is that
all it's
some-
stating
well-
in here is that you, as a STR owner, host, thank you, need to let them know where they can and where they can't park.
Right, so should we reference our ordinances in this STR ordinance, like parking per this, and this? Is that, like, the specifics aren't included in here, so if I read this, I would just kinda go off of what I know, so
Right.
I'm just saying, to develop this document, do we need to have what parking in Clear Lake Shores
Well, I think
defined as referred to
Yeah, but then we have
specifically
to
here?
do that for every resident that's here, so, you,
Yeah.
Alex Scanlon, you're gonna have a party here, you need to reference every one of these ordinances to every guest that you have coming, so they don't park
And-
someplace that they're not supposed to.
And it's different for each location, and so what the
Right.
STR is trying to say is, you need to establish that when you turn in your application, the building department official will review that and make sure it's in compliance. So, for instance, if you live on the waterfront, you could use, and you have a waterfront lease across the street that's yours, you could use that as part of your parking. As long as you
All right, I got a
don't, as long as
question.
you don't, violate your 48-hour policy for your lease agreement. But at the same time, if you have a small house, a small parcel, and it only has room for one car, but you have 8 people show up with 4 cars, you have to have a plan for that. If you don't, then they have to go park someplace else, or they can't rent that place.
In some places that I've read, you have to provide parking for your guests,
Yes.
not city right-of-ways or anything,
Yes.
on your property.
And that's what this is meaning.
And all the other is overflow, i.e. guests that are coming to visit for the day or whatever.
Well, Kurt, see, that's not what Rick just explained. In my understanding, this does read like it wants you to have everyone park on your property, but it's not, as Rick explained, which makes sense. So, again, that's why I brought it up, because it was confusing when I read it, where I read this, they want all the residents or the occupants to park off-street, but that's not really
No, it
the
says
rules here.
you need to have a parking plan. You need to have a parking plan. I mean, I don't think the city can go figure out every single plan.
No.
When you submit to the city, you should have a plan, just like your business. If you're opening up a business, you have to have enough parking spots. Kevin, I mean, you're the building official, so you tell me more.
You're absolutely correct. I mean, you could stipulate that in the ordinance that if your driveway only holds 3 cars, well, then you have 3 cars. That's part of the plan that SDR applicant should be providing to us. Say, okay, I've got enough room for 3 cars, just like I have an escape plan plastered by the front door. It's part of their submit.
Right. So people like renting, if my house was an STR, I could open up the garage, they can park inside, and, I could have 10 cars, or I could have 2 cars, but I have to have a plan.
I mean, the last thing you want them to do is have 20 people over for some big wedding reception, whatever, and they're all parking in people's yards.
Yeah, or let's say they have their STR guests there, and then you're throwing a party at your house, and we're all parked on the waterfront, and that was Craig's place to park his people. Now what? You're getting phone calls, hey man, my people got towed, or however that might work out. I think it's not a good plan to say, use the waterfront, use this right-of-way as your parking for your STR.
You're exactly right, as far as
You
public
should provide
parking,
that.
correct. You're
And
correct.
if you can't provide enough parking, then that's gonna tell you how many guests you're gonna have, sort of, kind of.
On premises.
Well, that also goes back to the STR applicant. He has to provide how many residents he's going to be having in that STR. So say you're having 4 people, 2 couples, but then these 2 couples invite 2 more couples, or 4 more couples. They can't do that because now you're impacting the neighbors.
Well, I think it's different for a day visit. You know, say somebody rents your STR, they have some family in League City, they come down, they need somewhere to park. Okay, that's where you would use the off-site parking for the day. You know, then they leave, more than likely. Because you can't sleep that many already. You've determined how many you can sleep.
Correct.
And someone have to, I mean, the police is not going around and saying, oh, this is STR, I need to count your people. This is something that residents are gonna have to submit something to the city or the city building inspector or chief, and we look into it, or the city looks into it and stuff like that.
Maybe I missed it. Does it say in here that a parking plan is required as part of like the application submittal?
Yeah, that's in that section.
Okay, maybe I missed it.
Yeah, this is the applicant section. It says that you shall include this with the application. And it also says you have to have this stuff available. So when you make a rental, there's a package that you should, just like you go to a hotel or anywhere, you should receive a package that says, welcome to our place. These are the do's and don'ts. These are the do's and don'ts for STR.
Here's the Wi-Fi password.
I mean,
here's
you
the
could have
restaurant.
you can have a rule that no pets allowed at all, so you don't even have to worry about the pet waste, right?
Exactly.
And the leash rule, because there's no pets allowed.
I think we should give some consideration. I know you guys have worked hard on it. I haven't been part of it, but if I had one, I wouldn't want a 1 striking out. I'd want like a 3 striking out. So I would suggest that possibly.
And recommendation would be like how we handle the water board, is we have a water board committee. And any time that there would be a STR violation, we would form that board and it would go in front of that.
I think one of the things they said in here too, though, is that you can appeal all the way up to having city council be the final, so where you're not just having one person.
Well, maybe is it council that pulls it? I don't know. Is it council that pulls the certificate?
Yeah,
the final decision on appeal, the owner may appeal the decision of the administrator by filing a written appeal with the city council within 5 days following the date.
Okay, so does city administration pull it and then it can go to council?
It just says administrator. We took out city, so it would be the administrator. So it would be either Brent or Kevin.
The city administrator or his
whoever he might appoint,
Yeah. Easy.
No, and I think the other thing too, like Kevin was saying, just if you have something that's a complaint or a violation, you're told about it, and you have X number of days to correct that. Now,
and
if
it
you
doesn't
correct
go
that,
against you.
if you correct it, okay, everybody goes their merry way. Now, if you don't, that's when you get a citation, and that's when this whole process starts rolling along. So, somebody comes up and complains, says, "Oh, hey, your dog, just took a dump in my yard." Say, "Oh, I'm sorry." You go and you pick it up. It's a done deal. It's not because your dog just took a dump in that yard, you're going to get your
No, I
certificate
just
pulled.
meant from residents calling the police, saying, hey, I got a problem. When they get the phone call, they're going to be expected to show up, whether it's the dog doing his duty or someone being too loud. Maybe people will do that, complain for no real reason. It happens.
I think the police chief can speak to this, but they're pretty astute that people do make complaints that are unvalidated, and they're not going to take action on a complaint unless they have probable cause to do so. So just merely a vocalized complaint isn't enough to get someone a citation. It has to have some evidence behind it. And most of these issues, like the mayor illustrated, we're talking about people that aren't familiar with this island or the neighborhood or the city, and they want to know where to go get pizza, and they want to know where they should park, and they want to follow the rules. And it's just a minimum code of conduct that these are things that are identified that we think are important that they should know. They should know where they should be able to park. They should know that don't put your trash out don't leave your trash outside and put it on the deck or put it by the front. Some people might put them at the end of the driveway thinking you get trash pickup every day. Don't do that. You're just trying to avoid additional problems and just point them in the right direction where they can they can interface and spend time here and not disrupt, you know, the neighborhood and lifestyle.
And these STRs have rights, but also our residents have rights of the
Exactly.
community too. So I mean, that's what, you know, this mainly looks after is the residents and how we can coexist with this in there, you know, and make it so it's all good for everybody. You know, you've seen some places down in Galveston where they've taken over cul-de-sacs with, you know, 80 cars and 3 or 4 houses in a cul-de-sac are rented out, and then the whole neighborhood just ends up being trashed. And we're not there, obviously, right? But we don't want that to happen
We don't
here.
wanna be there either.
We don't want to get there. So we're trying to be in front of this, but with the right specifics and writings that we need to have. But like we said, we've got 3 or 4 neighboring cities that have STRs. Send that back to the ad hoc committee. Nassau Bay, I think, did a really good job of having a task force that's got some good notes in there too. I can forward that all out to council if you want, and gives you a little bit of history of how they've gone through this and their city manager. And take a read on it, and if you have any input, provide that to the ad hoc committee.
My pile's getting kinda thick here. Just saying.
Thank you for being chair.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just reread the permit registration fee and application section, and I don't see it mention a parking plan as something on there. I'm probably reading over it too fast, but I feel that that's important to make sure it's in there, not just the code of conduct section. Because if it's not required, it won't be provided.
So you're saying repeat it back into the permit registration fee?
Well, if we're going to require them to provide locations of off-street parking, we mentioned that was part of the application earlier. It's not listed anywhere in the application section as something that's required.
Absolutely right. There was a lot of the stuff were repeated up in one section where you had to submit it to the city. It was repeated that you had to you had to present that to your renter, so they have the information of who's the owner, who's your 24-hour contact, what's your parking plan, what's your other policies. For instance, pets, no smoking, drugs, alcohol, beer, windows open, air conditioning not below 70 degrees.
Yeah, I don't see where all those things are listed. They probably just got deleted out of a previous one if you're going to require it.
So all we care about is what the city items are, but the renter could have multiple things in there, obviously.
Oh, right. We just said we were going to ask for the parking plan as part of the application, but it's not listed as part of the application.
He said that, by the way.
I said that, and it should be in there, but again, that's for the committee to decide. I'm not on the committee.
Yeah, it was in there.
Stop blending. Let me write it. So that's easy, just to add parking into 135. Like we'll just move one of that. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, it just says that the owner shall provide it.
Yeah, but he's saying add it to the permit.
Oh, okay, for the application.
Yeah.
It was in there before. So.
It wasn't ever on the, not at least the one that we had, it wasn't on the application part. It was just on the information sheet that the owner was supposed to provide to the guests coming in.
But we can
That
add
they
it.
had to be made aware of where they can and can't park.
I'll ask the
Yep.
committee if that's something we wanna add in on that section.
Yeah, so do we necessarily have to have that actually in the,
Does everybody feel that that's a need to be in the application?
I mean, like I said, that's just like, so if you're gonna have a big party at your house with a lot of people coming up, do you have to have something submitted to the city where you're gonna have all these people park?
Right, my concern is if you don't require someone to inform their tenants of where they can and can't park, you don't force them to figure it out, they're never really gonna tell them, or they'll give them hey, you can park in the driveway, and that'll be it. Anyway, just a suggestion for the committee to discuss.
Well, I mean, it's part of this going to be, a lot of this is going to be self-policing too. You know, you are going, obviously, if you're going to have somebody that's going to have an STR, and somebody comes and they have a bad experience, then let's say they have an STR, and I do not tell them where they can park. They go and they park someplace, and they either get a ticket or they get their car towed. Well, guess what? They're going to write a review on my STR saying that these guys didn't tell me where I could park. I had my car towed. It cost me $400 to get it out of the impound lot. This, that, and the other. So, something like that's going to be kind of a self-policing thing. And if somebody does park where they're not supposed to, I mean, even if you do have a plan submitted and you tell them you can't park here, and they park here, well, they're going to just face the consequences of it. And it's going to be citation from the police department, or you get the car towed, or what have you, or whatever the repercussion is for parking where you're not supposed to.
So what's the city administration's how do they want it? Do you need to know that they have a parking lot plan and give that to you, because it could change each year or whatever, or do you want it just to state that the renter shall give the renter a parking plan?
I think it lies with the operator to give the renter I think that it lies with the operator to make the renter aware of where they should park.
So it doesn't have to be part of the application?
It doesn't have to be a part of the application, and if we want to, if the city wants, there are caveats for the city to collect additional information as needed. There may be, I can't think of an example, but you might have a structure that doesn't have, or doesn't appear to have adequate parking for, say, 2 cars. So its occupancy is set for 8 or 10. So, is everybody coming in 1 car? Are they going to split into 2? Or is it reasonable to think that maybe there's going to be 3 or 4? So, it gets the operators to think about their forward planning and where they're going to have parking. And a lot of the things that are in the ordinance are going to weed out people that are just doing it for the $50 a night, 3 nights a month or whatever that they're doing. I don't know if you've been on any of the sites, but the good operators that get the 5-star ratings, they get return business and people comment on them, and we have a lot of 5-star rated here. And then we have some that appear and disappear.
They survive.
And so that's, we have even in the condos and the apartments on the other side of the bridge in Legend Point, you can rent like a futon in somebody's living room, and you get access to the bathroom, and that's it. So you read the thing. I got there at 10 o'clock. She let me in. I went and spent the night. I was up at 6 and out the door. That's the extent of that stay. But some people just need that. They're in business, and we need to capture that they're in business for the protection of people that are renting from them and to help preserve the neighborhood quality.
I do have one other note that is unrelated to that at all. I actually looked at staying at one of these not too terribly long ago when I was building my house. Watergate, the marina. There's a lot of boats set up as STRs. Is this going to apply to all of them as well? Is that something we've thought about?
On water.
It's on water.
Even though it's in the city?
We don't have jurisdiction on water.
That's probably a good thing to simplify our lives some. That's probably good. It simplifies our lives some.
All right, any further discussion? All right, appreciate everybody's time, and wish everybody a Merry Christmas. We do have a Plaza 10 meeting after this. This meeting is adjourned at